All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Crypto, Coffee, and LoFi. We've pretty much nailed the entire down move here. If you haven't been paying attention to my Twitter feed, go and check that out. Called everything pretty much to the T on this previous episode here, so go and check that out as well. Just a reminder that if you want to learn anything about the patterns that I'm drawing and the way that I'm trading here, you can find the tutorials that I posted early last year at the start of my YouTube channel. So feel free to go check that out. And I also have a strategy link in the description below, so you can go find that too. So what we were looking for was distribution above this high here or above this high here. And that's exactly what we got. So you can go find this on my Twitter, but we went short right at the top here around 44, and then right around FOMC, we went long around 43, and you can find that video where I was planning out my trade live as well. And then right at the end of FOMC, we got the move above London's high, where we then saw some lower time frame distribution, which is what I said would happen. And that's generally what happens with FOMC. You see accumulation into the event, you see the run up, and then more often than not, that run up is then faded. Obviously not trying to predict that fade, but if you do see the distribution like we saw just here, then it's often an easy trade. So unfortunately, however, we didn't see the accumulation at the lower zones, but it is what it is. So we've now seen a daily break in structure. Any move to the upside from here, in my opinion, over the next day or two should be used as an opportunity to sell. But let's just go over that. So if you are new here, I'm essentially just using the same pattern as for my entire strategy, right? Just one chart pattern. So I use that pattern to find accumulation and distribution in the market, support, resistance. Once I find that accumulation and distribution, I look for price to reaccumulate or redistribute in those zones. Once we see that reaccumulation or distribution, I then use the same pattern to enter. So an example of that would be right here, taking out this key high, breaking below the low that's responsible for taking this high right here. And then once we revisit the range, so from the low all the way through to the high, we form the same pattern again. So taking out this high right here as well, then breaking below the low that's responsible for taking that high. And you can see we retest it, and that's the high of the day right there. And you can see we got a massive drop off from there as well. So that's the basic part of the strategy. Obviously, I'm using a few more techniques, but you can click the link in the description below if you want to learn more about that. So I'll go over my bias in a sec. The easy and easy out indicator is still in a short. You can see some trade examples here. Obviously, when I'm pushing this thing, I'm not trying to tell you that it wins every single trade. So you can see we do have a few losses on some longs here. Going long, closing out that long, trying to enter short, getting stopped, going short again, going long here, getting stopped on that long, going short, going long. But then it it decides to take this fucking monster short right here, which, you know, from the bottom is up over 32R, which is fucking ridiculous. So if you want to pick up a copy, you can click the link in the description below. There's still a few spots available for that. Right, so my bias, let's start from the daily. So you can see obviously that there's been a strong break in structure here. The only thing that will save us, in my opinion, on the daily here is to you can see I've pointed this out in previous episodes, but we have some accumulation zones that have not been tested since this big move up. So you can see we swept out that low, then breaking above the high that was responsible for taking that low. So you're clear on the H4. then retesting this zone right here, taking out these equal lows, then breaking above the highs responsible for taking those lows. You can see we've not yet tested that. So the only bullish scenario that I'm seeing, which I do not think is going to play out, would be a sweep of yesterday's low, so something like this, and then some reaccumulation on the H4 or the H1 right here. That's the only bullish scenario that I'm seeing. And then even then, we still need to break all of this resistance right here. So even if we do see this accumulation, we could then still retest and then sell off. All right. If we reaccumulate there, break up above this resistance and then reaccumulate again, then I would say, okay, now we can head up into 60K. But I don't think that's likely. So you can see we've had that big daily structure break. We have all the distribution up at these highs. That's going to be difficult to break above. So sweeping out all of these lows, or all of these highs, sorry. This is the low that's responsible for taking that high, or all of those highs. So if we can get a retest of this zone and then start to redistribute and sell off again, then we should be good to enter some short positions, trying not to get chopped up. I wouldn't sit there on the M1 trying to find a position here. We do have this entire range that could be retested before a further sell-off. So just keeping that in mind. I think we are bearish, at least until we take out the previous day's low and until we retest this level. Now, in saying that, if we don't get the reaccumulation here, we're going much, much lower. All right, so let's jump on it back onto the daily. If we don't get the reaccumulation at this zone and not at this zone, we're heading much lower. We're going to take out the lows here and possibly retest 24, 25K. Unfortunately, that's the scenario that we're in. I do think that's what we're going to see. But of course, I could be wrong. So I've pointed out both possibilities there. ETH, all of these equal lows resting below current price action here. So I think we do test those. We have the reaccumulation zones that haven't been tested on ETH as well. So taking out these lows, breaking above the high, taking out this low, breaking above the high. Still haven't retested that. So I think shorts here on the lower time frames are favored, but let's see what we get. What else is I wanting to look at? Atom. I did catch a 5R short here. I posted that on my Twitter, so you can go and check that out. But we do have all of these equal lows sitting below, sitting just above this level of demand here. So I think if we do see some distribution on the lower time frames today and everything else is distributing as well, then we should be able to see a clean sell-off into $25. No worries. I think I'm going to cut it there. That's 8 minutes. So just to recap, I think that we are now bearish on the daily time frame. I've pointed out what we would need to see to break that bearish structure. So I think looking for shorts, keeping in mind that it's Friday, so we may just see chop or a temporary retrace going into the weekend. Anyways, guys, that's all from me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.